I can just say that I'm quite excited. A lot of points that I'm going to discuss within my presentation are coming up very strongly. Sure. I mean, the issue of database, I think that's where I can also help in terms of my business case. And I think I will also be part of Rendani's new uptake this season. So I also don't want to rock the waters.
Let's just ask you to do your presentation.
Okay, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tulani Makita. I'm here today representing JUTA AgriTech. I've recently left my my place of employment just to pursue my business interest. So JUTA AgriTech is the name of the business. As the name suggests, that I want to focus on technology. But and the reason why, can you go to the second slide? And the reason why is basically based on that code that I put there. That thing has followed me from my master's degree to my MBA. When we look at the industry in South Africa and how it's defined, it is dualistic in nature, and that gap is widening. It's not becoming smaller. Can you go back to that slide? I just want to read it in terms of the other side is characterized by technological advance, modern and efficient commercial agriculture, and the other side is characterized by non-productive, backward and subsistent agriculture. I'm sure if you are in the sector, you might have seen Wandile's new book. It's talking about the country with two agricultures. That's exactly what's happening. So JUTA AgriTech decided to maybe look where exactly can we contribute in trying to reduce this gap that we are seeing, commercializing emerging farmers and get them to the point where we have more, not saying that subsistence is not needed, but at least it might also be productive and not backward. So JUTA AgriTech has decided to focus on bringing technology to the emerging side of our sector. So next slide. So as a business, just to give a little bit of overview, we are based in Keiskamawuk. That's where we are doing our farming business. We only established, like I said, I recently left work, so I established the business in 2022. We are farming 6.75 hectares under irrigation. Rendani has mentioned we are one of those who are fortunate. We are having a bit of both. We are under irrigation. There's a big dam on top of us, and we are irrigating. We are under gravity feed, so we do not have the risk of Eskom. We do not have the cost of Eskom. So I think we are really privileged. We have that discount our production, and we doing pigs as well. We have a small unit. We are doing 30 pigs, where I'm sending 10 pigs every 2 months. Like I said, we are gravity fed, and we currently have 5 permanent employees, and we have 8 casual employees. We haven't harvested our potatoes, like Utada had mentioned, that it's very labor intensive. You'll see in my slide as well. So those numbers might, that's based on cabbages that we are currently farming. So those numbers will jump exponentially.
Sorry, sorry, Jane. There was a very big sorting machine for potatoes at Keiskamawuk. Is it still there in operation?
Yeah, it's still there. No, definitely, I'm getting to that point, because that's one of the things that we need to address. Maybe we can find synergies to see how we can address that problem, because I think production on the ground is one of the biggest challenges. Just to move on with the business model, like I said, my focus is to bring drone technology into the emerging sector, but it is a slow process where you need to license. You have to be licensed yourself to be a drone pilot. Last week, I managed to get my my drone license, so I'm a licensed drone pilot. And then we have to license the business itself so that it can operate drones. Otherwise, you will be under a lot of problem with CAA. But fortunately, we can operate under a person that is licensed, so that we can get into the market quicker compared, because the licensing process is quite lengthy, 18 months to 24 months. So as a disclaimer, we are still busy with that process of getting the drones and that technology into the sector. And farming was our low-hanging fruit to generate cash flow for ourselves. and we are focusing on vegetables. So that is one of our cash streams that we have, or income streams. And then we're also doing consulting. I'm an agricultural economist by profession. I've also done my MBA. So I'm trying to bring in the issue of budgets, business plans, cash flow projections, reliable, the one that talks to the problem, the one that can be trusted, not the wishes and the big dreams in the sky. So we want to bring that kind of service to the emerging sector so that they can access funding, because that is one of the biggest challenges that we've seen. And also growing the business, then the last component of it will focus into training. Again, we will focus on training the technology that we are bringing in so that we can see how do we accelerate the adoption, because adoption is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to technology adoption in the emerging sector. So those are the 4 components that we are looking at as a business. So next one. Just as a disclaimer, those pictures are not from the internet. That's what we do. So that is our work. The farming enterprises that were busy with potatoes. Currently, we only have 1.25 hectares. And I must say, before I forget, Upudviani, no Vumile in Ugimakli, those are the guys that are currently mentoring me, and they're also helping me with the machinery. The nice part is that I'm getting my planter from them, but it's costing me, if I include the transport, anything around 6,000 Rand. So if you transport your planter for 6,000 Rand and you're planting 1 hectare, and then it's costing you 6,000 Rand. So that's a big jump in terms of mechanization. So it picks up your cost. So that's why we are intending to grow the business to 5.5 hectares in this coming season. So that will also reduce our cost per hectare and make us more effective. But that is one of our challenges that we have. And then we're also doing cabbages, obviously, for cash flow. So we're planting every month. Currently, we are sitting at 2.5. We want to expand that to 3.5. Just before I forget, on potatoes, we are currently budgeting 35 tons. I've had good news here, 50 tons, 70 tons. So I'm optimistic. And then on the butternut and pumpkins, we're focusing on certain varieties of butternut, but specifically the blue pumpkin on the pumpkin side, based on the demand that we've seen. And we're also expanding that to 3.5 hectares. And the pigs, like I've mentioned, we only have 30. And we also want to, currently we're not breeding, so we are sourcing winners and finishing them. But as experience, we've seen that it's difficult to get the number of winners that you want at a certain age. So we always have different ones that are fighting all the time, and the other ones are not getting food and so on. So if you get, I've decided now we need to start breeding our own so that we can have a certain number of piglets that we are putting through the system. Next one. I just also wanted to highlight the key challenges. I think they have been discussed quite widely in the previous discussion or the previous speaker in the questions. But those challenges are specific to our potato, just to make my presentation relevant to today. Obviously, it's quite expensive to produce potatoes, and that's not a joke. And it's also very comforting to hear that, Rendani, one of the most expensive things that you have to fund in that business is the seed, chemical, fertilizer. Those are your biggest expenses. So if they come and at least help in one of those, that's very comforting to hear. And we also, there's a considerable capital outlay, like we have mentioned. I think we've heard that we have to have your potato planter, and you can't just use a maize planter. So it's not generic. So you have to have your potato planter, you have to have your own ridger, and then you must, at the end, have a pack line that washes and sort and everything. So that's quite an expensive capital requirements for you to be able, because it's a nightmare to wash potatoes with your hand and stuff. And then market volatility, obviously. Currently, we're talking about 250 Rand bag at retail price. That's a type of volatility. It can go the other way. So there's a lot of volatility there. So like I've said, washing and packing is also another one. And then highlighting the issue of the pack line in Benzil that you just mentioned. There is a pack line there, state of the art. It never packed one potato. So now it's rusted. So I think those are the conversations that we need to have to see how can we bring that into play, because it can also contribute to that community. I mean, there's assets sitting there and it's not being productive. And I think one of the biggest challenges is that I might be exaggerating, but there's not a single potato that is coming from the ground. So we have to address the issue of production on the ground, and then we can get the packing going at the same time. So the approach has to be holistic. We can't start with the processing, but it's a good thing that is there. Now our job is to get the production on the ground going so that we can utilize that facility. Obviously, it's going to need capital. So ECRDA and other stakeholders that are available, then we can start having that discussion to see how we can use that tech line instead of buying another one. But as a private entity, I would recommend buying another one for myself. Also good for my balance sheet. And then opportunities, like I've said, it's everyone has agreed that gross margin wise is the highest. You can compare it with cabbage, you can compare it with maize. It doesn't compare. It's just, but obviously the volatility then it becomes a problem. Also, harvesting is labor intensive. That has been discussed. Access to markets, that has been discussed. That's why it's under the opportunities. And there's technical support. Potato SA is here with us. Vuyani, Nomzinzi, they are there. Guys, I always send pictures to ask, what is this? How can I deal with this? So those are the guys that are available for us. But we also need to grow the enterprise to achieve economies of scale. So we have to grow the production on the ground so that we can then be able to use that tech line that is there. Otherwise, there is opportunity for growth. Next slide. And just in addition, then to say beyond the production on the ground, what are we doing as a business? So obviously, you have to diversify and probably use the skill that you have. Like I said, one of the things that we're doing, we provide agricultural economic services like feasibility, viability studies. Also busy with business plans. I have a few contacts that I'm currently busy with. And that is also another, avenue of growth, so that you can bring in more unemployed graduates, so that they can be the ones who's doing the business plans. I don't want to do business plan. I want to, run the business strategically there on top, not sit down and write a business plan. Budgets as well. And we're also doing, we want to incorporate mentoring, but there are people that I'm talking to in terms of, obviously, I have extensive experience in commercial farming. I was planting 1,500 hectares of maize in Ngobo. I don't know, maybe you might have heard of the Lasilaka Park. I was responsible for that project and other projects in my previous life. So there is a little bit of experience. So in terms of operations manager, we can come in and help you manage the business, obviously, at a fee or other arrangement that we can arrange. We also help with production plans, what you need to do when, because people sometimes get a spray program, but they don't know what to spray when. That is one of the biggest challenges. So that talks to the production plan. And then marketing as well, we obviously with the connections that I'm bringing from my previous life, there is market linkages that I can provide to emerging farmers to say, if you want to sell your maize, talk to this is how you hedge, and so on and so forth. And also marketing support, to say exactly where are the markets, so then we can support the farmers in that way. And then the next one is one that I want maybe to sell here today, and that is anchored on that quote that I opened with, to say our industry has evolved. I think we've seen the growing up of mega farms. We no longer see a lot of small family-sized farms. So that was the biggest change. That was one of the big changes in agriculture, the cropping up of mega farms. There's the two, Westphalia, all of those are mega farms that we are seeing today in our sector. And we've also seen cooperatives converting to become PTYs and LTDs companies, that is one of the biggest change. And we've also now similar see that kind of change in technology. So we have to bring in technology to manage this business, because we cannot do it now the same way that it was done 50 years, 80 years ago. So we have to keep up with that technology. And what I've seen is that drone technology is being adopted in the sector, especially in the commercial part of our sector. The imaging is dragging. And it's also our task as, previously disadvantaged people to bring the technology, not only to receive the technology. So that's why we decided we want to be in that space. Obviously, there are first mover advantages and first mover disadvantages, but that one we'll have to deal with it as part of our risk assessment as we are going to the sector. But now to discuss what exactly these technologies are bringing, or what kind of applications we can supply to the sector. You can do your chemical spray. There are big drones now that you can spray chemicals, you can spread fertilizer, and also you can broadcast seed, especially when you are planting your pastures that you just and your cover crops. And then we can also look at issues of crop health, so that we can look at plant growth. How is it growing? Is it aggressive? Is it slowing down? Those kind of things. There is technology that you use. Obviously, reading the NDVI, the NDMI for plant moisture, so that if you're under irrigation, you understand when to irrigate. What is the stress of your crop? Obviously, you can also use it on your dry land, obviously. And also, even though you cannot react, but at least you understand where you are in terms of your plant moisture. And that also helps with focusing your potential yield, so that you know exactly that I had a lot of moisture stress on a critical time, and also your plant available nitrogen. And then the last one, which I think would be the biggest one, is the farmer information. I think it came very clear today that database, or where are the farmers, is the problem. So that farmer information is what we need to do. Previously, when I thought about it, I was more leaning towards the citrus in terms of where are the farms, how big are they, what are the cultivars planted, what is the age of the tree, so that our Eastern Cape government doesn't go to Johannesburg to look for information for Eastern Cape. That, for me, it doesn't make sense. So that is what I want to also be involved in, get our information here, so that Orandani, when they have to make decisions in terms of how they are distributing their budget and so on, they have the information. Where are the farmers? What are they doing? How big are they? So that is one of the biggest part of it. I think that engagement will have to be taken to even a more serious, engagements. I'm not saying this one is not serious, but I'm saying even broader. I think I should use the word broader. So that would be, we'll have to take it to a broader discussion to say, how do we get Eastern Cape information in Eastern Cape? Because we look ridiculous when we go to Johannesburg to look for Eastern Cape information. Next slide, just to clarify then in terms of the benefits of using these drone technologies that we provide. Obviously, you can operate at any height of your maize. If it's high, you can't come with a tractor, because usually when you have to do your last fungicide spray, your maize is already grown. So you have to now come in with a high clearance sprayer, but it's very expensive. It's very tedious to bring it to the place. So with a drone, you can just fly it in. Also, when the lands are wet, you can go in. You don't have to wait, because especially in the last 5 years, we've seen a very wet seasons. So the window of opportunity are very limited. So you have to come in very, very quickly. And also you can reduce the traffic on the lands. So compaction is reduced. At least now you have to reap once in 3 years. But if you are compacting your land all the time, you might have to reap every year, which is a huge cost. It's costing about 1,300 now to reap. Crop health, we can also take informed decisions. Like I've mentioned, now you can see where's your water stress, and then you can apply water. The variable rate application, which is a huge benefit in terms of cost saving. The drone can fly over, do your mapping, and then see where are the areas that are stressed, and then you feed that information to your bigger drone, and then that drone can do a variable rate application, put so much fertilizer in this part instead of just putting the same amount of fertilizer everywhere. or chemical everywhere. So that is a huge benefit. And we've seen the price of fertilizer, we've seen the price of chemicals in the past few years. And then if you look, obviously, then that trickles down to the cost effectiveness per hectare. So obviously, you're saving in terms of the inputs that you are sparing, but also you are also saving in terms of the cost to operate a drone. A tractor or a high clearance spray will cost you anything now. A cheaper guy will be 550 rand a hectare. With a drone, you can do away with 300 to 400 rand a hectare. So there is also a cost benefit in terms of that. And also the big one, it says water. I think our country has been through a drought spell for a very long time. Wandile has also mentioned that we are going through again in another El Nino. So we know that this is going to bring another drought kind of troubles. And then disadvantages of using the technology. Obviously, I'm advocating for the use of the technology, so I wouldn't have a list of disadvantages. But I think the issue, especially in our sector, is the issue of low adoption levels. We move very late, we move very slow. Obviously, we have elders or people that have grown in terms of using in farms. So their adoption naturally is slow in terms of technology. I think me as well, I'm no longer excited as I was with phones. So they're now just functional things. So there's very low level of adoption. So we need to talk more about the technology, maybe show the benefits. That's one of them. And also maybe in ECRDA, in their meetings, they can also mention that you must use drones.
Let's just bring the drone.
Yeah. So we have to deal with that. That is one of the disadvantages. And then next slide.
Let's start moving towards conclusion.
Yes, right there, definitely. Then our team, obviously me, as managing director of the business, and also Liama Jomizulu, who is also a graduate from Fort Cox. She has an advanced diploma in horticulture. She's very handy when it comes to our fertilizer programs and our chemical program. While I'm running other things around, then she can focus on production. And we also have our sales and marketing. Unfortunately, you have to focus your marketing with vegetables, otherwise you are sitting with a problem. So you have to have a dedicated component of that so that they can focus on sales and marketing. And then we also have Nyameko, our irrigation guy. Is very passionate about irrigation. Unfortunately, we are irrigating with drag lines, so it's very, very labor intensive. But he's the guy that carries a drag line and pool and so on, so he knows exactly what he's doing. So we have a young and a very capable team, very dynamic. And obviously, for experience, I call people who have experience to help. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Excellent.